Committee. Good morning, everybody. My name is Anwar Jappie. I'm the chair of Effie South Africa, and it's my esteemed pleasure to welcome you to today's workshop. I hope everybody had a great day yesterday, and if you shut down on Monday, welcome back. I think I just wanted to maybe open up with a few words around Effie. I think that who are we as Effie? We have a newer journey in South Africa, but Effie has actually been around since the 70s. Globally, it's the #1 marketing effectiveness awards. And we're quite happy and proud to say that we're on the journey of actually moving up the needle around marketing effectiveness in South Africa. And Effie joining the country about 3 years ago has quickly established as one of the leading awards in the market, but specifically the number awards for marketing effectiveness. So what do we do at Effie? We aim to lead and inspire and just champion the practice of marketing effectiveness. So we do education, we do thought leadership. Last year, we started the Effie Dialogue series, having conversations between CMOs and CFOs, CMOs and CTOs. And we also just want to bring insights of what great looks like. But our flagship event for the year is the Effie Awards, and that's why everybody is here today. And specifically why we're happy is that you are the first, I would call the first mover advantage. Yeah. The team, Katinka and the team will take you through what great looks like and just around the flow of entries for the year. But it gives you a great opportunity to be first in line around understanding and working with your teams around putting it together. We know a lot of teams do great work, but often what we find when judging happens is that they've not been able to articulate exactly what is required. So that is what we'll go through today. Take some notes. This will be recorded so you can share it with your broader team as well. And feel free to ask as many questions that you want at the end as well. So all the best for the awards this year. And it's going to be an exciting journey. And I'll hand it over to Katinka and team. Thank you.
So much for that, Anwar. Very good morning to everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Katinka Pretorius. I'm the Managing Director for Sunshinegun, and we are a brand design consultancy based here in sunny South Africa and also an office in not so sunny London. And we are privileged enough to be the brand custodians for brands such as Nando's globally, Nedbank in South Africa, as well as the rest of Africa, and AB InBev. So it's a big privilege for me to be able to share some hints and tips with you today for how to enter Effies. So I'm going to share my screen with all of you. Okay, so today is all about how to write a winning Effie case study for the Effie Awards. And when I put up this slide, I always fear that the title of this presentation is quite misleading in that it may mislead you into thinking that I'm going to give you all sorts of wonderful matrices that you can use to demonstrate the effectiveness of your case and let you into some secrets. And it's not necessarily the case. I have to also just be upfront to say that I know most of you are strategists in this room, and I've actually worked with many of you. I've got great respect for the strategic community in South Africa. I think we do some of the best work in the world. But I have to be upfront about the fact that I'm not a strategist. I'm a business person. And I'm hoping that I can show you a little bit more of a different perspective coming from the business side of things. Also, having been an Effie's judge for the past 2 years, I'd like to share some hints and tips of some of the entries that I've seen over the last 2 years, and also some of the experience that I've had in receiving feedback from the global judging community, the global Effie judging community. And I myself was quite active in entering Apex throughout my career. I've entered my first Apex case study about 25 years ago when I was still a student at AAA. It was for the Tylenol brand at that stage, for those of you who can remember. And I was privileged enough to be a winner of two Apex Grand Prix in 2010 and 2015. So I'm going to take you through how we judge these case studies, what some of the wins are, some of the pitfalls that you might experience, and also show you then last year's grant Effie case study and why we thought that that was a winning study, so that you can get some information of how to enter in your category. Now, guys, I know that winning in this winning an award here is such a prestigious thing, especially in this community. Having been involved with this every single year for quite a number of years, I know that there's immense pressure that goes with entering into the Effie Awards. It's probably, dare I say it, a strategist's most stressful time of the year. And I really want to encourage you all to sit back, relax. All the notes are in here, so you don't have to take too many notes. Just watch and listen. I'm going to try and answer all your questions, and this presentation will be shared afterwards, as well as the recording will be available. And the only thing that unfortunately we can't share afterwards is the actual winning case study from last year, because that's confidential, but you will be seeing it in this presentation today. So, you know, if you think about it, all the hard work actually is done. You guys have already run your campaigns. The results are probably trickling in already. So now it's just about putting that story down beautifully so that you can convince the judges of your case. So yes, I hope that you find this session inspiring and inviting, and that it takes away a little bit of the angst that you guys experience. Okay, so a couple of years ago, Adam Morgan and Mark Barden launched this book called A Beautiful Constraint: How to Transform Your Limitations into Advantages and Why It's Everyone's Business. Now, if there's one thing that we've learned over the 2 years of COVID, and also then the 1 year post-COVID, is we've learned to really do effective campaigns under huge constraints, you know, budget constraints, timing constraints. We've really learned to make everything go further, last longer, with a lot less than you can actually put into it. But what this book was all about is it demonstrated through some really effective case studies how you should use your limitations to actually liberate your brand, to free it up. And two of the case studies that I particularly enjoyed was around, firstly, Twitter, that had to launch with 140 characters, and you were limited to only be able to tweet 140 characters at a time. And the reason really was a bandwidth at the time. But it really taught us all a great discipline to say things short and sharp. And to this day, we encourage our clients to give us the brief in a tweet, because it really does force you to be quite deliberate in what you want to say. The other case study that it goes into is Google. And we all love the simple homepage design of Google. Those of you can remember search engines such as Yahoo and MSN that was kind of like filled your screen with information and links, and Google just really had to launch with something simple, because Larry Page had very simple coding abilities, and he was limited to launch such a simple homepage. And for that reason, we got the beautiful homepage that we know today, and we go and look regularly to see what the logo updates are. And the reason why I think these case studies and the whole concept of a beautiful constraint is so important is that we've had to move over the years from Apex case study writing that was very detailed, lengthy, long documents to a format that really forces us to fill out sections, to follow a certain process thinking, and also be very deliberate and succinct in how we put our information across. And when the Effies launched 3 years ago, and we had to enter our first case studies, we found that people really struggled with this. How do I complete this kind of sheet with sections in the most effective way when I was used to, just being able to write long case studies and beautiful stories. Last year, we could certainly see a great improvement, and everyone embraced the format of Effie's writing quite well. So I want to encourage you not to see the format as a limitation, but to see it as a liberated way of thinking to help to assist you with your thinking and how that flows in telling the story beautifully, and then also, as I say telling it quite succinctly. So we're wanting to embrace the constraint, and this is a time where we have to transform our limitations into opportunities. I just want to say as well, I mean, the usual Zoom terms and conditions go here. I am clicking through my presentation. If anyone doesn't see the slides clicking through, please let me know, just raise your hand, etc., so that I don't sit here like an idiot thinking that you guys can all see the information and it's not kind of coming through on your side, but so far so good. Okay, so just quickly talking to you about how the judging process actually works. Okay, there are 2 phases of judging. First round, there are quite a few judges who will each review between 6 and 10 case studies across a range of categories. They will judge categories that they have experience in and that they don't have experience in, and of course judges will be selected around the categories where they can actually be involved in from a judging point of view. So if someone has a conflict, then they won't actually judge in your category, or they'll just recuse themselves. But they will then look at all those case studies that they've been assigned, and then there is also a discussion that takes place around all the case studies. I have to give everyone the reassurance that all those conversations are quite confidential, and everyone's very professional around them. Brands are not discussed, agency names are not discussed at all. Everyone refers to, specific story or a case. And that then gives the judges the opportunity to score the entries. But important to know is that every judge will score and comment on their entry before any conversation takes place, so that they're not really shifted in the conversation that follows. So that would be the first round of judging. And really what you're trying to determine here is who are the finalists, who are the case studies that can go through to the final. So you are awarding a bronze or a silver or a gold, but you really need to get to a certain level to be able to be a finalist. Then a second round of judging will take place, and that would be a separate or a different group of judges. Again, between 6 and 10 cases are assigned. Again, everyone will review in their own time each case study, comment and score, and then a conversation takes place. And this is then ultimately where it is decided if a case is a bronze, a silver, or a gold, so that ultimately the golds can go through to the next round. Very important to know is that judges are always encouraged to read the written case study before any of the creative work is viewed. So even though your creative work will be uploaded in the ideas and execution section, and you will have some audio-visual material in there, judges will move on to look at the results first before they come back and they actually view the work. So that's important to bear in mind in how you put your case across. Judges score each case individually, and then written feedback's provided. Very, very important again to know is that each section has to be scored and commented on before you can move on to the next section. And that will become quite evident as I move now through the sections for the entries. There's then the grand judging. So approximately 8 to 10 grand judges will be elected. and they will sign confidentiality agreements. And approximately 8 to 10 cases will then go through to the grand judging based on the standards for that year. But if your entry has been awarded a gold in more than one category, it's quite likely that it will go through to the grand Effie judging. And then ultimately, the grand Effie will be chosen from those final 8 to 10 case studies. But it's obviously not guaranteed that there will be a grand Effie awarded every year. Okay, so that's really how the judging process works. If we have to talk about how the case studies are put together, we have 4 sections. We have the challenge, context and objectives, insights and strategy, bringing the strategy and the idea to life, and then ultimately the results. And as you can see, the results, not surprisingly, will count the most towards your overall score. So your results really is what's going to bring it home for everyone. Okay, so sorry, I'm just going to go back here. What is very important, as I mentioned, is a judge will look at the first section, the challenge, context, and objectives. They will score that and they will comment on that. And they have to do that before they can then move on to insights and strategy. And then so, that kind of carries over into the rest of the sections. So what is important for you to bear in mind when you put this together is how each section tells the story for that section and delivers to the KPIs of that section quite well, but also how a seamless story runs right from the beginning, right through to the results, so that you have one story to tell. So you've got 2 strategies at play here, not just looking at each section, but also the overall story. Okay. Now we're going into each of those sections. Looking at the challenge, context, and objectives. And this is really the glue of the entry. This is where sustainability and the ambition is assessed within the framework of the strategic challenge, and it defines the strength of the rest. Here we're really trying to find out, what did you set out to achieve? And what does success look like? The category marketing challenges and goals and the competitor landscape and market trends, all those things are explained here with clear objectives. And what's so important here is whatever you mention here is what you're going to have to refer to in your results. It's probably one of the biggest downfalls of the entries is that the objectives and the results do not tie up, or the results are different to the objectives and the measurables that were set in the actual challenge and context. So it's really, really important that those things all tie up. And then also, why are these objectives significant to your brand, your business or cause? Why are you the only brand who could really set out to achieve this? Some of the advice and the feedback that we receive from judges on this section is that you must consider how the challenge and the strategic idea are articulated to really land your case from the onset. The best case is clearly define the objectives. What lift were you looking for and where? If it was awareness, then say what were you setting out to achieve, and why was awareness so important? Share the context completely so judges understand fully, because they may not understand you or not know your category very well, but also don't overwrite it, don't overcomplicate it, make it quite simple. And of course, we said measurable goals are very important to frame your results later. So that was the first section. Looking at insights and strategy, here we really look at how inventive the strategy was. These are about effectiveness awards, and the innovation and the kind of provocations that you throw out in your strategy are quite important. Now, if we talk about insights, you guys are all strategists. I can't teach you about articulating a good insight. You guys are much more experienced in that. But what is important is that you should not just be throwing out facts. Don't just give us psychographics or research feedback. Like, how are you tapping into the consumer, and why is your brand best suited to address this insight? How does the insight link to the strategy, the idea, the execution, and the results? We've spoken about a definition of demographics or personas, cultural nuances that are quite important, and the core idea and strategic build that drove the effort and led to the solution. Some advice here from the judges. Insight should feel new and different, with attention and a sense of actionability. The idea needs to take the insight and act on it in an interesting, compelling, and useful way. The idea should be crisply articulated and should link to the insight. It should not just be a tactic. And again, find a real insight, not just an audience observation. The third section is around bringing the strategy and the idea to life. And this is almost the climax of the presentation or of the case study, because this is here where you can really demonstrate how your creative idea and I suppose the more entertaining aspects of the case study. So here you articulate the creative and the media strategies, why certain channels were chosen and why they were effective. What was the idea and how was that strategy brought to life, and why did we choose to do this? So here again, there needs to be a direct line between your objectives, your creative and your media strategy. Define why each channel was chosen and why that was quite important in bringing your strategy across. Show us a clear depiction of the consumer path. And then there's an investment overview, and these things are normally quite confidential. Clients don't always like sharing it, but I'm going to show you in the winning case study that you can be, you can demonstrate what the investment was without really revealing important and confidential information. And then use the media budget elaboration fields to give more context. Here, the judges are looking to see one complete element per touch point, and they want to see the strategic idea in action. So it's to show creative work and not just a full audiovisual case study. I say again that it is important that everyone's going to read your case study first before they look at any videos. So don't rely on the video to bring the case study across. Ensure consistency of information in your video and the written case. So important advice here from the judges would be that many times we see audiovisual elements being borrowed from creative entries. So, and then the video and the results that you use in your written case study don't tie up. And that unfortunately makes everyone quite suspicious about what exactly were the objectives. Make sure that the two align and that there's consistency in information. A nice touch is also to write this audiovisual case study in the brand tone of voice. You know, if you have a humorous tone, bring that across, or if it's quite a hard retail campaign, bring that across again, so that there's a role for the brand to play in your case study. It also forces the rest of the team to be quite involved in your case study. And I actually wanted to just stand there a little bit. And I encourage everyone to have the full agency and client team involved in how this is all written. When we were writing for Apex, a lot of people briefed editors to write their case studies, and it does unfortunately give your power away quite a bit. And it's really quite a collaborative opportunity for the whole team to be involved in putting this together, writing it, get your writer involved in articulating the idea and the strategy, get your art director and designer involved in how we put together the visuals, and of course, get the client involved in how the story is told. Clients love, love, love winning effectiveness awards. It also really demonstrates their role in the industry. It really is, it's a big marketing event, and it should really be a joint partnership. Okay, so I've kind of said everything about that. And then, of course, the results, reminding you that the results play the biggest part in making your case study a winning case study. So again, make sure that there's a direct correlation between the objectives and the results. How did the results impact the brand and business? Some of the pitfalls that I've experienced when we judge these is that media results are given, but not brand or business results. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. How did it uplift your brand, or what did it mean for business? Just telling us how many impressions you got is unfortunately not going to be good enough. So make sure that you provide that brand data and industry benchmarks. Oh, goodness, sorry about that. And also address other contributing factors. In the days of Apex, you will remember that we had to make sure that there were no other contributing factors, that it all had to be, that the results had to come from directly from the advertising. But Effie's would be quite different. You can have contributing factors, positive or negative, and judges quite respect and enjoy it when you refer to those, because it shows your thoughtfulness in how you approach the strategy. So it adds to the confidence in your case. When key metrics are withheld without explanation, judges assume it's because the results were weak. So make sure you argue every point. Everything that was set up in your objectives on the front need to be addressed in your results. Okay, the advice from judges here, we've spoken about consistency. The second point for me is quite important, charts and graphs. What we see quite often is that charts and graphs are pulled from research documents. They're quite small. There's a lot of data in them, and it's really difficult to see because remember, I'm judging electronically on a screen. I'm not looking at a printed document. So I would encourage you, where you're showing charts and graphs, and they're so important in bringing your story across, is make sure that they are designed to really tell your story. So show where the lift is, like make the actual the stat quite big on your graph so that no one can misunderstand what you're trying to say. I feel like a lot of case studies are falling back there a little bit. Demonstrate why the results are meaningful for long-term brand impact, and tie the story together in terms of why the work drove the results, because the best case studies do this seamlessly. Okay, so I've spoken you through all 4 of the sections, and now we're going to look at a summary, like the top 10 tips for writing a great entry. So start with the executive summary, and this is almost where I would encourage you to work with your team, creative team, your client team, whoever the team makeup would be, to write that strategy, that executive summary, and to use that as the core of what you're wanting to say. Can everyone still hear me? Because we've just gone through a quick electricity smash. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so you start with that executive summary and you use that as the core to write the rest of your case study. And you make sure that that's really strong, crisp, clear, and inspiring. We've spoken about providing the context, because not all judges know your category, but don't overwrite it. Thirdly is, while all the information is important, remember that judges read through quite a few of these on a day, we said between 6 and 10 a day. Approximately takes about 45 minutes to an hour to read each one. So make sure that you're quite direct and you're bringing your story across, that it's not too cumbersome to read. Point number 4, honesty, authenticity, and simplicity is very important. Don't make it complex. Don't have too many marketing jargon. Just make it simple and honest. A data point is not an insight. We've spoken about that. Really make sure that your insight is beautifully articulated and it makes everyone sit up and notice that it's something that they haven't thought of. Create a strong tie between the execution and the results. Make sure your creative reel doesn't just reiterate what you said in your entry. So this is really where you're becoming the conductor. Is you've got your written case study that will be read first. You've got 2 visuals in there that the client will see or that the judges will see. And then, of course, you've got your audio visual elements. So make sure that those things all work together, that it's not just a repeat of what you've said before. Connect results to objectives very clearly. And engage the judges. Again, they're reading quite a few of these on the day, and it is always remarkable when you then get together to discuss the case studies. Immediately, you will have those ones that will stand out, that everyone will comment on. If they are engaging, if it was an interesting insight or an interesting strategy, immediately all the judges around the table agree. And then the last one is, of course, the one that always holds us up, but ironically, it's always there: grammar, typos, some stats not tying up. Really make sure that you check and check and check your case study so many times before you submit it, because those inconsistencies, it does really not look great if you've got those. Okay. So those are the top entry tips. That kind of concludes the training. I'm just going to run through a couple of logistics and then we'll open for questions. Okay, so very important is that insight guides will be available to purchase to review feedback on your previous entry. So they'll go on sale on the entry platform when entries open for this year. We'll get into those dates now. Insight guides can be purchased upfront at a discounted rate when you submit your Effie Awards, or for a closed competition period are sold at a price of 1,500. So in post-competition purchases are subject to a standard 7-day turnaround time. Okay. We've got 2 kind of sections. You've got obviously your sustained success category, which is for a 3-year period. And then you've got your other categories, which is just for a 1-year period. So both of those starting from the 1st of February. So it would be 1st of February 2022 for all the other categories until end of January this year. Here are all the dates. So entries will open just before Easter for the early bird entries until the 17th of May. And these are all the updated prices as well. There's also the on-time entry period from 18th of May until the end of May. And then lastminute.com, 1st of June until the 14th of June. So after the 14th of June, it's sorry for you. That's when everything is closed. And that's actually when the judging will start. So application for judges will also open in April, and then we'll go through a couple of the rounds of the judging. But what you can also put into your diaries would be the summit and the gala event on the 15th of September this year. And as a final word, I just want to wish you all great success. I know that it's a very exciting but quite a daunting time, and I hope that you find it very valuable, hugely inspiring and informative to go through a process like this. And I just wish you all of the best, and I'm looking forward to seeing your entries in the judging and also celebrating with you at the end of the year. So thank you for joining me on as your first meeting after the public holiday. And I think that we can open for a couple of questions if there are any questions from anyone. I'm going to stop sharing the presentation so I can see your beautiful faces. Are there any questions?
Hanley, hi, it's Deborah from Joe Public.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, I've just got a question regarding judging. I just want to find out, is there a cap in terms of the number of judges that an agency can put forward? Do you know off the top of your head?
Hanley and someone from Effie's, is there someone who wants to answer that question? I wouldn't know.
Morning, Deborah. How are you?
Hi, Ash. I'm good, and you?
Good, thanks. So, no, there is no cap on the amount that the agency wishes to put forward, and it's also that the applications are done in their personal capacity. So there'll be an application form for judges that will go live on our website, and anybody who wishes to apply to be a judge can submit that application form, and we'll be in contact with them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. Any other questions? Here's one from Anip. Let me just open my chat. I'd like to ask about the change to the objectives question. Last year, I believe there was only one objective required, and this was split across the marketing funnel. This year, we are now required to list 3 different types of objectives: business, marketing, and activity. Can you please expand a bit on these new requirements? Yeah, that's an interesting one. I wasn't aware of that. I don't know if there's anyone from Effie's who can answer that.
Yeah, so I did notice that they do ask for more than one objective, but not all 3 are required. Actually, 1 is a minimum requirement. I would have to contact Effie Global to find out more about the reasoning behind why this has been changed. It's perhaps because some Effie awards that happen in other regions require it, and they have to make it a standard. But I'll have to get back with a solid answer on that one from Effie Global.
Thanks, Anib. Any other questions? Super, super clear for everyone.
You've just done too good a job, Katinka.
Yeah, and thanks for the great case study. I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thanks for the encouragement. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again soon. Yeah, so Janae, I hope I'm saying your name correct, Janae or Jean. So yes, the presentation will be shared, and Ash, will the recording also be shared with everyone?
Yes, as soon as the recording is ready to be shared, we'll let everyone know.
Okay, so yes, everything will be shared. Great stuff. Wishing you all a great day. Chat soon.